Okay. I am live. Hmm. Trying out something new, obviously. I've realized a lot of times that I'll sort of get a little anxious when I'm speaking and I lose my train of thought. And I'm trying to use these glasses as a way of centering me to help me talk about things. Oop, wait a minute, there's something here. Uh, Uh, okay. So anybody wants to drop a line in there, that's perfectly fine. Not necessarily expecting anybody. And again, many times this is really just from me. I'm kind of talking to myself. I'm more than happy to share my thoughts with other people who might, you know, want something to do. What the fuck do I know? Oh, let me show you. Let me show you my shirt. Dee 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 dee. Yeah, time waits for no one. That's it's absolutely true. So, what I wrote there is emotional tethering. And I think that most people understand what tethering means. It means you fasten tightly. So, emotional tethering is when our emotions, it could be any emotion, it could be love, it could be hate, it could be confusion, it could be sadness. You can go down the list of all the items that we can be emotionally tethered to. So it's attached to, basically, being attached emotionally to something. But attached is one thing, tethered is another. And sadly, that tethering doesn't just happen. Well, when you have individuals that share emotional tethering to a similar item, then you get basically culture. I have to get rid of that word basically in my vocabulary because I tend to do that too much. It is not good, in my mind, to be emotionally tethered to anything. And I have been. That's why I say that. I've been emotionally tethered to a lot of things. And you could think of emotional tethering sort of on a spectrum, And so addictions, like habitual alcohol use, uh, and I got to get rid of ums as well. Addictions would seem to fall under that category. But here's the thing, and this is the reason that I raise it. And I don't know if you have ever had an argument with anyone, like a Republican or a Christian. Um, there goes that again. There's a certain reason that the arguments cannot be won. And that reason is because they are tethered emotionally to a very existential question. And I will tell you this, that when you are tethered to your existential answer, I don't think anybody can. Well, the only person that can break that is you. There are some people that could highlight the fact that you are emotionally tethered to that idea. And the only way that can happen is if somebody says that that idea is flat out not wrong in and of itself, but not correct, is a better. In my mind, there's a little difference between saying wrong and not correct. But I do have a psychology background. In essence, I have a humanities background. And I have a lot of thoughts on that. And I have a lot of thoughts on why we're at, where we're at. But where we're at right now in the social structure, at least here in the United States, is that there are some groups that are tethered to absolute notions. Now, when you have an absolute notion, well, let's say you have a Lego kit. Well, if your Lego kit came with instructions on how to build something, then you have an absolute notion, or you have a goal, you have an absolute, you have something that you can work to and grab the blocks that are in the set and sort of build whatever it is that is. So if you're emotionally tethered to an idea, it's not that difficult to build a an argument that will keep that thought or that tethered emotion alive. So, for example, Christians believe there is an absolute moral authority. They believe there's an absolute moral authority. So, no matter what you say to them, it doesn't faze them because they believe in an absolute moral authority. And that notion is a little harder to dispel. That belief, of course, can be planted um, by religion, but not necessarily. It can also be implanted by ideology. Blind obedience to an absolute moral authority that is invisible. That is basically sort of the Republican Christian nationalism type of ethos, if you will. And they are very adamant that they own the exclusive rights to morality because, of course, they believe in the absolute moral authority. So why wouldn't they believe that? Most people don't want to believe that there is no absolute moral authority. I had a conversation, or not a conversation, but somebody made a note. And it's interesting that they never replied to this note. So I don't know if they agree, if they disagree. Who knows? Maybe they're still trying to, process what I said. Because even atheists can have a problem with this concept of the fact that there is no absolute moral authority is just as valid of an assertion that there is no absolute moral authority. And this person that sort of made a note thought that if two people could coexist without words, then that would be the absolute moral authority. I think that's what it was that that person said. And to a certain extent, they're not entirely wrong, except that that's not morality. Because morality is an abstract concept that humans have created. And once we create that concept, we basically build on it. And the more we build, the higher we go. And the higher we go, the more fear we have of falling. So we don't want to let go. And we hold on to it desperately. It's what gives our lives, it's what gives and makes sense to individuals. It gives individuals a false sense of control. And I think that's dangerous, because what happens when you have a false sense of control is you get complacent. That is another factor with what we're dealing with. What do you think obesity is if it isn't complacency? So you can be emotionally tethered to food, you know, uh, and you can be emotionally tethered to things, materialism, and I think that, to any physical object. But do remember that in many respects, a thought is an object, because we refer to it as that. Even though it's something that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't do anything with it, it's still something that we discuss. And if we can discuss it, then it would be an object. So it falls under that category as well. So emotional tethering can be transferred generationally. And the more generations that it's transferred to, the tighter the tethering. That's why these things look like cult behavior, brainwashing, because it is very, 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 very difficult to break that cycle. I was able to get out of it. I was there and I was able to break out of it. And I'm fortunate. I don't give it any divine, source or anything like that. I don't need to do that. It's actually not necessary at all. And I think, again, that is actually counterproductive. And I might talk about that a little bit more on another episode, or whatever you want to call this. And keep in mind, that this is not shit that I'm just making up. I studied psychology. I studied social psychology. I studied cultural anthropology, geography, economic development. In essence, my college education was not a career-driven decision. It was an educational-driven decision. I wanted to learn. And once I left, I decided to keep learning, but through experience. So I've been through a lot of shit. And part of who I am is not risk adverse. And I could be given all the things that I've done. It's kind of surprising that I'm doing this right now, that I'm here. My brother committed suicide at age 27. Had a sawed-off shotgun that he had procured himself. I can't remember from when. And he found a little secluded spot, and he went ahead and used bird shot and just sat down in an area there, a little dark corner, and popped that sawed-off shotgun to the roof of his mouth. And since it was bird shot, all it did was scramble his brains. No exit wound, no mess. He was very considerate, very considerate. And I was devastated, and that was part of my sort of the moment shit just flew out of control. And it was also the moment where I tried to get that shit under control, but it just actually got worse. And this is funny. This is funny that I don't feel I feel closer to knowing who I am today. In certain respects, I've accepted the fact that I'll never know who I am completely. And I'm like I said, I've accepted that. And one of the things that I have managed to achieve is to break those emotional chains, those bonds, to the point where there's very little that I'm emotionally attached to. And I think that's a good thing. Uh, I do think that feelings and emotions are oversold in their importance. Thinking is just as valid, and a person should think just as much as they feel, if not a little bit more thinking than feeling. So emotional tethering is a very um, is something that a person should learn, or I hate words like should and obligations or anything like that. A person could learn to detect them and to help them in a conversation. You have to listen carefully to the person, or you can ask them the question. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe there is an absolute moral authority? And if the person says yes, don't argue with them. Just let them know that it is equally valid to state that there is no absolute moral authority. It's not so much authority that's needed. All that is really about organization and control. And that's how religion is used to organize a tribe to guarantee its success. And the only way it can work, if you have to stick to the rules. And it's bullshit. We're not there. We passed that stage. We're way beyond it. We don't need that shit anymore. We really don't. Well, I'm going to stop there. And if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll see if I can provide some additional insight. But I pretty much said what I think I needed to say on the subject. So we'll leave it at that. Stay active, or be active, or work towards being active. Work towards being fit. Keep your mind busy. And just don't obey authority blindly at the end of the day, because authority will abuse its authority. It will get drunk on the fumes. Like police, they'll walk up to you and they have an attitude, automatically, they have an attitude, an authoritarian attitude. And they are tethered to that idea that they need to be who they are so that society can succeed. They need to be fascist assholes. That's how a lot of them think. That's bullshit. I said, that's all I'm saying for now. I'm continuing to work on material for stand up, open mics. We'll see how it goes. I'm having fun. I'm bombing all the time. But bombing is good because I just, think, what did I do fucking wrong? How can I say it differently? Trial and error, experience. I have a lot of anxiety during the 5 minute mic open mic. It's almost like the minute I speak, I start to forget all the things that I thought about, and it's just, I have to get that under control. That is the one thing that I have to get under control. I do think I'm getting better, and I think that I'm getting better because practice makes progress. It doesn't make perfect. There is no perfect for me. In my universe, on the existential plane that I navigate, there are no absolutes. There are no can'ts or there are no can'ts or obligations or anything like that. I just am. That doesn't set well with a lot of people. In a way, I'm my own culture. That's why I have problems with the people around me. I don't share the same idea. And I'm going to do another episode on culture and talk a little bit about that. Again, keep in mind, I had a really, 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 really broad academic base, which is something that a lot of people don't have. And then I have a very, very broad experiential base. Been in a band, put out a record, worked in the white collar corporate world, worked in the blue collar, in restaurant industry, tried to be an entrepreneur and networked in communities, and then had an emotional breakdown. So I've been through all kinds of shit. Experiential moments, the more experiences a person has, the more information they can draw from those experiences and then combine them with the information that one already has in their noggin. And that can make for some pretty tasty meals. Have a great day. And think about this. The past is an illusion. The present is chaos. And the future, a decision. That's all I got for you today. You take care, stay safe, and, whatever.